going on, fam? Back for another show. Today is going to be a little bit different in the sense that we're going to talk about some things that for some people may be insensitive, for some people it may be offensive, but at the end of the day, we don't give a damn because what we're here to do is to inspire and to educate. So we're talking today, people, about the terms, some negative terms that we use in the Black community. And I don't know if we want to call them negative or not, but they're historical terms that mean certain things to certain people. So we're going to talk about Coons, Sambos, and Uncle Toms. Are these terms relevant in the Black community today, 2024? So for those of you that don't know, these are terms that have evolved from our history, most of them from slavery. Coons started during slavery, and it's a description of that massa used for Black folks as being slow, lazy, trifling. Sambo also started slavery times. Sambo evolved into what we came to know as these caricatures, the little Black figurines that you see with the red lips, and they playing instruments and all this other stuff. So initially, because Sambo, I think, was derived from the Spanish term, Zambo, which meant a Black person or a person of mixed race. So initially, yeah, it was maybe a positive term or whatever, but as history has treated us, it evolved into a negative connotation. Probably, I think, after World War II. That's a long time where we started becoming, as I consider it, to be more racially powerful and talking to people about things that offended us and, standing 10 toes down. The last term, Uncle Tom. I think that's one of my favorites because that's, think about it. There was a book, Harriet Beecher Stowe wrote the book Uncle Tom's Cabin back in, I think, 1852 is when it came out. So initially, Uncle Tom was a preacher on a slave plantation. He was a good guy. Ultimately, he ended up getting killed because he wouldn't divulge the escape route that slaves had used to get off the plantation. So master asked him, he said, no, beat him. So we go from a positive character of Uncle Tom to what we have now as Uncle Tom, which is basically somebody that's pandering to the white community, doing the bidding for, quote unquote, the man. So that being said, we're going to go ahead and get it started. So Carl, answer me this question. Of those three terms, which one to you hits the hardest?
Hits the hardest, I would say Sambo. Because for me, like you said, going back to Uncle Tom's Cabin, Sambo was a character in the book who worked for Simon Legree, who was the slave master. He was the overseer of the slaves. So a Sambo to me is someone who not only panders to the white power structure, the white supremacist power structure, but they also have power. You can be an Uncle Tom, and I know we're gonna get into, Uncle Toms and Coons and some examples that we have, but they're less harmful. They're less harmful than a Sambo to me, because for me, if you and we have Sambos in politics, we have Sambos in corporate America. If you wield any type of power over Black people to make yourself superior to other Black people, then you're dangerous, in my opinion. So that's the one that hits the hardest to me. I don't know if people are gonna, I know that we know Uncle Tom really is the most, I think, recognizable in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
But I like to use all three.
Yeah, I think they interchangeable. Yeah.
But that's the Sambo would hit the hardest for me.
Okay. B, well, which one hits the hardest for you?
I got a 2-piece combo on that one. I did some research. So I looked up these terms online just to get the etymology and all that, and I believe it's Ferris State University has a Jim Crow museum, because that's where all this stuff kind of bred itself from, and they made a little think piece about these terms. So I'm gonna read that, and once I got into that, I said, Jesus, this is bad. So without further ado, I'm just gonna read a little excerpt from their Jim Crow museum. So look it up, get the full spill. It's pretty extensive, pretty dark, but it's our history. So I'll start with that. The Coon caricature is one of the most insulting of all anti-black caricatures. The name itself, an abbreviation of raccoon, is dehumanizing. As with Sambo, the Coon was portrayed as a lazy, easily frightened, chronically idle, inarticulate buffoon. So, just off reading that, if you're using that type of description to compare me to an animal, and a raccoon is not the most graceful of all animals you see out there. That's something you see grabbing your trash, right? Trying to get it out your yard. And then if that's in the same neighborhood as a Sambo, being this lazy, idle, pathetic creature, if you're calling me that, that hits the hardest.
Okay. So, to our question, are these terms relevant in the Black community today, 2024? You think they are?
Yes, but I think they're in the closet, right? And nowadays we're in this cancel culture, political correct world. So a lot of that stuff you can't be prevalent as it was like in the 50s and the 60s and even prior to that, or wherever Jim Crow was established. But it's still out there because you don't know what goes on behind closed doors from the people that were bred and lived in that area, what they're saying at their conversations like this.
And see, that's the thing, because, now, to your point, in probably most cases, it's covert. So people talk about it behind closed doors.
Oh, yeah.
But I feel like one of the things that the three of us have in common is that, we're going to stand on integrity. And
course.
whatever I say within the four walls of my house, I can say outside of the four walls. So I say that to say, I think that right now, I don't believe that the terms are relevant, only because to me, they don't carry as much weight as they used to.
Fair.
If I call you a coon, I'm standing 10 toes down on it. I'm going to call you a coon at home. I'm going to call you a coon to your face. And if you got something you want to say about it, then fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think that there has to be more, in my opinion, of a public outcry, so to speak. Because if we can say it behind closed doors, why can't we say it in public? And my hope is you say it in public, say it the right way. It doesn't have to be confrontational, but maybe that's a teachable moment for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because to your point about coon, I don't want to be called a coon. And if you call me a coon, then we gonna have a conversation.
Yeah.
But now it's gotten to the point where if you do call somebody a coon, I feel a lot of Black folks, number one, don't know the history or the negative connotation behind it. They think it may be funny or whatever. And they figure, look, if I have ascended and reached a certain status, you call me what you want to. I got money.
See, that's where I want to. That's
Ding, ding, ding.
exactly right. Ding, ding, ding. Which is why when we talk about Coons and Sambos, those are the ones who, like I said, they've ascended and they got a little bit of power. What the term is now, to me, that has replaced Coon and Sambo in the Black for Coons and Sambos, is I'm an independent thinker. I don't have to follow along with whatever.
That's a good one.
I'm an independent thing. So what you're saying is you're a coon, but you've taken and you've co-opted it and turned it around like white supremacists do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not racist.
They're learning from their masters how to take things.
Or excuse me, as we like to call them, the evangelicals.
Say that topic.
We have to do things a certain way, and we have to do, I'm an American, and all that kind of foolishness. And I think that when they're doing it for their own gain. Mm-hmm. You're doing it in the political realm. You've seen it over and over again. You've seen it with Senator Tim Scott rubbing on Trump's back, saying, I love you, Mr. President. I mean, and you. I ain't talking
about
time. I don't even want to talk about people's looks. Well, he looks like a coon.
Yes. Or Sambo. People look up the picture and put Tim Scott next to side by side. Yeah.
We've got people like that. We've got people like Candace Owens. Candace Owens sued the school district that she was as a teenager for racial discrimination and won.
Yes.
And was thankful to the NAACP and all this kind of thing. Overnight, she says, she turned into a conservative. She had an epiphany and became a conservative. And since then, has been making money on trying to do everything to discredit what Black people have been doing in this country for the last 60, 70 years.
And what we've been through.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
So, but she's doing it for financial gain.
Of course. Yeah.
So when you see people like that, now, and I don't want to just stay in politics, we'll go to people like Jason Whitlock. Jason Whitlock, who was a sports commentator, dismissed from ESPN, dismissed from Fox, and has started his own, media podcast and so on and so forth. But I don't care if you say Black is beautiful. He's going to have something to say about it.
Yes.
Yeah, agreed.
But he's pandering to a new audience of people that are paying his bills.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you do what you feel that you need to do to make money. But the issue I have is when you are in positions of power and influence and you try to speak for Black America. If you're speaking for yourself, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
You are still a coon, in my opinion.
And see, the thing that kills me with that too is not enough people call them out on that. Because, if you have a platform, then why not use your powers for good as opposed to evil?
Because money is coming to play. And everybody...
Yep.
Okay, so let's go back. Let's look at historically. Black people who are even admired now by, and they become martyrs in the white community. Marcus Garvey, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Fred Hampton. All of those people were unbought. They could not be bought. Money couldn't sway them from their opinions.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can't be bought, we're going to destroy you.
Yep.
Of those four, Garvey is the only one that didn't get killed by the government. He was sent out of here. They sent him away.
Excommunicado.
Right. But then I guess they learned from that because they said, okay, well, the next time they come around, we're just going to kill them. Mm-hmm. We have FBI tapes of the FBI having conversations with Malcolm X, trying to buy him off.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't do it. We know how the FBI was trying to blackmail Martin Luther King. Stop doing what he's doing. He didn't do it. Mm-hmm. We know that the FBI and local governments were doing the same thing with the Black Panther Party. And those people were killed. And we know for a fact that the government was complicit in all three of those killings.
And you know what? A lot of times we don't talk about how they were able to do that. They were able to infiltrate all of these three examples using Black folks.
Absolutely.
So,
well, even four, because even with Marcus Garvey, they infiltrated it.
So we don't talk enough about that because, at the end of the day, for me, I think one of the more egregious cases was the Honorable Malcolm X. Because here it is, he had changed his life.
Oh, yeah.
He had become a devout Muslim. And he was killed through jealousy. Because had the government not jumped in,
who knows?
Honorable Elijah Muhammad would have had him killed anyway. And I think that what we have to do is we have to think about, those examples that you use, Carl, are perfect because these were people that were ascending. Mm-hmm. And the government realized, wait a minute, these Black folks becoming a problem. And to your point, we got to get rid of them.
Yeah, the files even said in the Black Panther Party, we have to stop the next coming of a Black Messiah. Those were that was a J. Edgar Hoover writing. This is public knowledge. And I think what it is now, to your point, Eugene, we're not being in the forefront and being in the closet. These are older terms, one. Mm-hmm. The other is, again, money's in play. Mm-hmm. You start, and which is another trick that the white supremacists will use. Well, racism isn't around anymore. Look at all these. Yeah. Look at Oprah. Look at these people are rich, and it's like, so money is the equalizer,
basically.
Oh, yeah. Basically.
Oh, because we're going to allow you to get money, and I say that allow
exactly because they hit a ceiling.
Oh, absolutely.
You're only going so far.
Look at your CEOs, and you got company presidents, and look at you. There's no such thing as racism.
DEI, look at that.
Now, those same presidents and those same celebrities, you can go up and down the list of them getting pulled over by the police, them getting detained, them getting, Oprah was, which you get profiled in the Louis Vuitton store in Paris, and you come and you tell the story, but you try to flex by saying you went in and still bought stuff.
Yeah.
That's not a flex.
No.
But what it is, that's become the thing. Now I got money. I'm gonna go in here and buy what cause I got money. But
No.
you're doing that's counter. But you won't, And I heard somebody say this, and I'm the same way. You go to a black business, and if they don't treat you right, or you have bad customer service, you say, "I was trying to support you," but you never say that to Gucci or Louis or
Oh
anything
no,
like
you
that.
accept
You
it.
never
Just
say,
accept
"I'm
it.
trying to support you." You come back and you say, "I'm gonna spend my money in spite of how you treated me." What kind of craziness is that?
That's not a protest, I tell you that.
It's not.
No.
You mentioned and we talked about Malcolm X. He did a speech at Michigan State back in 1963 where he talked about he used an analogy, the house Negro, field Negro.
Mhm.
And he used this analogy to get to a point about being Uncle Tom.
Mm-hmm.
House Negro is right there next to Master.
Yep.
Whatever Master want, boom. The field Negro is out in the field working. So the dichotomy is you say to the field Negro, come on, man, let's go. We about to get out of here. And he like, up, I'm up.
Oh yeah.
But the house Negro, hey, come on, we about to go. Go. Where we going? What we gonna do? What we gonna do without Massa? We got who gonna clothe us? Who gonna feed us?
Yep. That's what I'm saying. He was eating good in the house.
So can you imagine, the stories? Because even the stories about Harriet Tubman. When you want to go, I have to imagine it was a lot worse than what we know about.
Oh, 10 times.
Absolutely.
But I say all that to say that mentality is still prevalent today. And Carl, to your point, Massa has become money.
Bingo.
Make that's it, making the money. And I have to say to myself, I'm not selling my soul, for the sake of who I am. I love the skin that I'm in. There's nothing like being a black person, but I tell you what, we are not able, in my opinion, to unify because it's so easy to infiltrate us. Because you're always gonna have that segment that's gonna be a Tom, that's gonna be a Coon, that's gonna be a Sambo. Because they are in it for themselves.
Yeah.
And I have to think about some of the high profile celebrities. We were talking about Mr. Sean Carter. And the fact that, yeah, Carl, to your point, he's a rapper, he's done this, he's done that, but guess what? He's in bed with some very powerful people, and I tell you what, he wouldn't trade it for the world. Because I still have a problem with the comment that he made when the NFL put him over the Super Bowl halftime shows. And reporters asked him a question, and Jay-Z's comment was, well, we're past that kneeling stuff. What the hell? So that tells me right there where your mindset is at. Because that old saying, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. Come on now.
That's where a lot of people are. And I've seen, and I guess, again, going back to Malcolm X, he did an interview and he talked about people saying, black leaders, and they were entertainers, and he said, you never see in the white community where they prop up their entertainers and athletes as black leaders. I mean, excuse me, as white leaders. So when I see Jay-Z or when I see Mike Tyson or Floyd Mayweather endorsing Trump, saying that that's their guy, or Waka Flocka saying he's a Trump supporter, that is so insulting to me when that group will say, look, they love us. What's wrong with the rest of you people?
The blacks.
The blacks.
Yeah.
What's wrong? Look who we got, and it's, I don't get down on them too much. They're coons, but they're ignorant. I mean, Mayweather and Tyson get punched in the head for a living. So am I really going to listen to you?
CTE account for, yeah.
I mean, and neither one of, you can't see where either one of them went to anybody's middle school. So I don't,
He say middle school.
So I mean, what you do is what you do. You entertain me. That's fine. I like your entertainment. But beyond that, don't prop them up to say they speak for the black community. That's one. Two, I think that people need to understand that we have learned to assimilate in this community, into the society, because we've had to. But it's different from cooning. Now, one of the things, and I wrote this down. it came to my mind when we started talking about this topic. It's a poem by Paul Laurence Dunbar. We Wear the Mask, and I only want
Oh, I
to read
remember
just
that
part
one.
of it, just the first part of it. We wear the mask that grins and lies. It hides our cheeks and shades our eyes. The debt we pay to human guile, with torn and bleeding hearts we smile.
Mm.
So it goes on basically to say, this is what we do to get by.
Mm-hmm.
We're
Wear the
wearing a
mask.
mask. So to me, when you wear that mask and then you internalize that mask and you become the one that grins when ain't nothing funny and you scratching when ain't nothing itch, you have become one of them. And you ain't no coming back. So is the term still relevant to me? Absolutely. Now, I guess, to you, Brandon, because you're younger, I don't know. And I know I would hear it all the time, from my grandparents and even
Mhm.
my parents. I think, again, as time goes on, some of this stuff goes away.
Starts to
It
dissipate.
Yeah,
starts
it
to
does
dissipate.
a little
Just
bit.
like, how the term, nigger has evolved.
Oh yeah,
And then we're
definitely.
talking about who can say it and how is it spelled and
The
yada,
hard
yada, yada,
R.
hard R versus the A. It's
Yeah.
different if you
Yep.
say A and it's different if the ER and
Mhm.
yada, yada, yada. And if you white and you cool with black people, you can say it and
Yeah,
all this kind
you
of
get
stuff.
your pass. You got an X amount of
Yeah,
black friends.
this
Yeah.
is trust me, this is all very new.
Mhm. Oh yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
for the younger generation, what do you think that this is? Is it still around even? Or, I don't know.
It's still back to where I started at. It's in the closet, right? Because you can see social media that's the broadcast of everything from generation X, Y, and Z, right? And if you do your digging, you're gonna find some racist stuff out there. It might not be as big as, oh, you're not gonna see a guy sitting on his porch calling somebody coons. You might not. And again,
Why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Why not?
Point me to that neighborhood. So,
hey, we like I said, we never know behind closed doors, but I think it
well, I
is.
mean, hey, be upfront with it. You're gonna say it, say it.
But that's not how it's going nowadays. What's the term? Closet racist. That's I think
Isn't that an
that's the big
oxymoron,
one
though? I
nowadays. I
mean,
think that's what
if
the
if you're
status
a
of it
racist,
is.
you're a racist. I mean, hey, the LGBTQ plus community don't have a problem with broadcasting who they are. So, hey,
And I think
That's a tough one.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah, they're
Because
protected.
if you can get elected to be president after saying I could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and nothing would happen to me, if you and you've got elected saying that, you've said I'm gonna grab women in their private parts. You said it. We
Right.
know you said it. I don't know what would happen to somebody if they said I can't stand black folks. Because here's the thing: you can show it in every action. Police are trained. And again, one of the things that the 1619 Project was talking about was the systemic racism in this country and how it is basically formulated in racism. So it talks about how the police are trained to view black suspects different than white suspects.
Oh, yeah.
That's training still happening today.
Mhm.
Doctors are trained to look at black patients different than white patients, thinking that we have a higher threshold of pain.
Yep.
So if you can do those things and then say, this is part of who we are, this is the fabric of this country, you've got the same people that are doing these things, but will say, America's not a racist country. What is the difference in saying, yeah, we racist? We do that. Because you're doing it anyway.
yeah. And you know what I think, quite honestly, is if someone were to come out and say, I can't stand this group, I can't stand that group as a racist, I think that the people that feel the same way, okay, that's our guy. We can get behind that person now.
Yep. Oh yeah.
So then what you would have, of course, is a group of folks that the majority, I'm guessing, would be outraged. But you
Mhm.
would have a certain segment of the population that'd be like, that's who I'm riding with, because that's how I feel. He said it, I'm with him. And now all of a sudden you got people that are going to be,
Yep.
joining on. So yeah, why
Mhm.
not?
Why not?
Yeah.
And
You got freedom of speech. So
you look at if you look at the Republican Party right now, you've got Mexicans for Trump, you've got blacks for Trump. The Mexicans for Trump blows my mind
Yes.
because
Yeah.
because here it is. they've turned into there, and I don't know if it's Sambonistas or whatever it is.
You say Samboistas.
But
I didn't look that one up.
Yeah. And I know that probably offended some Mexicans. I'm sorry. But but if you one of them Mexicans that's for Trump, I'm not sorry. Because here's the thing.
Mhm.
He's coming out saying they are sending their worst. They are sending this and that. And then you like, yeah, I'm here. I don't want them people here either.
I made it.
So you have black people doing the same thing. They not like us. I'm over here.
Shout out to Kendrick Lamar.
But you know what? Instead of the terms, what really we should have brought over was the house Negro and the field Negro. That's what really is relevant, because you take that with your Mexicans for Trump scenario. You got the scenario where I'm over here, I'm legal, I can work and get a job. Don't worry about whoever don't let him jump the wall, build the wall to keep him.
And in most cases, they still have relatives that are over there.
Yep.
So you've gotten over here and you've made it.
Nope.
So the whole crabs in a barrel.
Yeah, and
I'm here.
The same house field Negro. What is it? How did the mentality go back then? I don't know. I wasn't a slave master, but I've got my plantation. I've got the light-skinned slaves in the kitchen. They sleep in the house. Whether they're family of the darker skin tone slave, that's the guys in the field in the sun.
They are, because master done impregnated.
Exactly. That's my family.
So it's the same scenario. Yeah, we're family, but I'm eating 3 hots in the cot, and I don't know what you about to do.
Because you know what that is, though? They have the allegiance to master Tim Scott and several black Republicans who have an allegiance to Donald Trump. Why? Because you think he can do something for you. There's no way. And Trump has just proved it by picking his VP that he was ever going to consider Tim Scott. Yet he still continues, and several other black Republicans, to pander.
And I think that us looking on the outside, looking in, knew that he would never pick any of those people.
Yeah, no, check the polls. That wasn't even a polling number.
We knew
statistics show that.
And for you to be such a Sambo, Tom, Coon, that you are still running up behind for scraps. You're running up, again, house Negro, field Negro.
There you go.
You're running up behind for the little bit of scraps that master's going to leave in the kitchen. Because you'll never be next to him. You'll never be in that position.
But
you're willing to take the scraps.
Yep, still in the house, exactly.
And again, I don't want to always keep this in the political realm, because all three of us have worked in corporate America. We've seen these Coons and Sambos work in corporate America same way. We've seen black people get to a position and don't want to talk to you. They don't want to assimilate. They don't even want to, it's like, hey, how you doing? Hey, how are you? But then
they're afraid somebody else is watching.
Right. But then and even when somebody that's in your same position, but if they're white, now we'll go, hey, how you doing? You have conversation. So you immediately say, okay, I see what you're doing. Because they too are trying to get close to that power. And for some reason, they think that if we affiliate ourselves with you, then, and I've seen it where I've moved up and I, was in a position, had a black person that was a supervisor, never really had much conversation. As soon as I became a supervisor, we had a little bit more conversation. So I'm saying to myself, yeah, right.
You're on a team.
So, I didn't know that you were, the Sambo secret handshake, and we gonna, and I'm not,
brother.
I'm not. I'm wearing the mask, brother.
I like that.
I'm code switching. There you go.
I'm coming in here. I'm not going to change who I am, but I know what I need to navigate this world. And we as black people, since we've been here, know what it needs to navigate this world. One of the things that I hate when people say, well, they had T-shirts printed up, I'm not my ancestors. Well, what does that mean? What does that mean? Are you trying to say your ancestors was kowtowing and bowing and ducking and carrying on? Some of them did do that in order to survive.
Yep.
So that you could be here.
And that's where your point earlier, Carl, I thought about when you talk about the poem, how basically it was a form of survival. But I think we as black people, we have to realize that internally, I think we've all had an experience to where you had to choose one side or the other. That time moment where you decided whether or not you was going to be a Tom or whether or not you weren't going to be a Tom. And for me, I think it's easier to sit and hear you say, Carl, how you're able to ride both sides. In certain instances, I think I can, but then
Mhm.
again, I don't have a poker face. And if I don't like you, 9 times out of
Gotcha.
10, you're going
Little
to see
tough.
it in my
Mhm.
face. I can play the role up until a certain point. And by play the role, I mean I can sit back and talk with the best of them.
Mhm.
But if something comes up and it offends me as a person, as a black person, then guess what? That's it.
That's the part.
I'm done at
That's
that
the
point.
point. You're not gonna sit there and let somebody say anything racist or derogatory.
Of course not.
Exactly.
Mhm.
You know, you're not gonna sit there and let people talk down and then say, "Well, you know, Eugene, I'm not talking about you.
You're different.
You're different."
Yep.
You know, and again, I've had that happen to me,
Mm.
and I had to check the person who said, like, no, I don't know what you think I am or what you think I'm about, but let me explain it to you.
That's West Side Carl. Came
Yeah, I
out.
mean, you know, because we're gonna have to make some delineations. My
Yeah.
thing is with these Sambos is they will sit there and grin and smile because they think they're in a position to get something, and that's my issue.
So my example to that, and we just talked about it, it's a certain physically fit African American actor / entertainer, Mr. Terry Crews.
Oh, what you got?
Now, a couple of different things.
It's Coon.
There we go.
Let's talk about that.
So, fam, the Me Too movement, Terry Crews came out a few years ago and mentioned that he and his wife were at a function, a party, whatever, in Hollywood, and a famous white Hollywood exec came over, talked to him. Well, at some point, he proceeded to grab Mr. Crews, fondle, whatever you say, his privates, his genitalia, in the presence of his wife. Terry Crews did nothing. Now, I have to imagine internally he was, oh my God, I can't believe this just happened.
He was stunned.
But externally, this coon did nothing. And we all know if that were to happen to any one of us, then guess what? My wife is getting ready to see me beat the dog snot out of this guy. So, Carl, to your point, when we talk about coons, Sambos, Uncle Toms, because I really feel like Terry Crews, my God, I think he would do your birthday party if I gave him enough money. He no integrity as far as I can tell, and that's just my opinion. But Brandon, you tell me, how would you have reacted in a situation like that?
Well, and we were talking about this prior. I wish we would have clipped that or something to share. But I mean,
No, we don't have to.
take it back to, I don't know, preschool or kindergarten. Like mom and dad teach, if someone touches your wee wee, don't let them do it. Do something. It's rudimentary, right? That's what you learn before mom and dad ship you out the house. So
why do you think he didn't do anything?
And this is the same thing. It's that house and field. I'm not going to turn on that. I don't want to
Because
risk
he
my
knows that
Hollywood
this
career.
man may have the power to
Yeah.
end my career.
And what does that
As
do?
opposed to him as a black man thinking intrinsically, my ancestors were beaten. They were slaves. And I tell
Mhm.
everybody at the drop of a dime, and this is just me, and this is the gospel according to Eugene Mitchell Jr., if I ever get into a situation with someone of this shade and I feel it's racial, then guess what? You about to catch 450 years of oppression that's going to come up from the bottom of my toes and beat you till you can't speak anymore. So I don't understand how, as a black man, you allow this to happen. But to take it a step further, back in 2020, Mr. Terry Crews tweeted. This is his answer. Coon, COON.
Acronym.
Yes. He came up with his own term. The C in coon will stand for conquer. The O will stand for our. The other O will stand for own. And the N will stand for negativity. So Terry Crews came up with the acronym for coon, conquer our own negativity.
And hearing that, I have the hugest red flag with that.
What
right?
the hell is going to be the first thing that you got to say?
Well, the first thing is he got tired of being called a coon. So he had to create something.
Okay, I give you that. Fine.
So
you try to
I
deviate.
gotta learn from my masters. I'm a co-opt turn
Okay,
and
fair.
make it my own.
Fair.
But it still doesn't do anything for us because what it does to me is that puts you over here.
yeah, it's a
Our-
horrible PR
You're
campaign.
not speaking for me. You probably ain't even speaking for the people in your house because I guarantee you his wife probably ain't got no ounce of respect for
Well,
him.
Oh yeah,
you
she's
know.
not wearing that T-shirt. No, no, she's not.
See, here's the thing.
Mhm.
People like him and others, particularly those that are here in entertainment field, they know that their careers are being held in the palm of somebody's hand.
Fair.
People in corporate America or in the real world, I don't care if you work at Burger King, you're
Mhm.
still going to face the same type of confrontational issues,
Yes.
whether it be race, whether it be physical touch, whether it be whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Those people too, their job is just as important to them as an entertainer's job is to them. We're just talking about different stakes on different levels.
Your financial health is still beneficial.
Financial health is still financial health, whatever level
Exactly.
you're on. So don't tell me that if I'm working in a warehouse and somebody grabbed my junk, that, it's not, if you knock them out, it's not the same as me knocking out this guy because, you can get another warehouse job. Guess what?
Mm-hmm.
You can get another job here too.
Yep.
I mean, you can. It may take a minute, but that's not my problem because I'm not going, I'm saying it's same thing with the warehouse. It may take a minute because, you still going to go looking for a job. What happened to your last job? Well, I threw the dude through a window.
Why you do that? Because he grabbed me where he shouldn't have grabbed me.
It's going to be some issues wherever you go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we see that, Will Smith is on this PR campaign making gospel music now after he done smacked somebody in the face on live TV.
Mm-hmm.
There was consequences to that.
Yep.
By the way, we don't support Will Smith.
Throw that out there.
but and some people could throw Will Smith in that Coon conversation too as he rolls up through the ranks, but I'm not going.
Why not? I mean,
Speak your mind.
We said some people were gonna be offended, but I mean,
I was never a Will Smith fan in terms of acting. His projects were okay to me. I liked a couple of the movies and so on and so forth. But his persona outside of it was too happy black manish, and I'm just not. I look more of an actor like I'll just say a Denzel Washington. Denzel does his job.
Oh yeah.
He does his interviews. Even Sam Jackson, he does his job. He does his interviews, and both of them you've seen in their interviews where they have expressed some frustrations. They've expressed themselves as, why are you asking me these questions? Because some of them are just dumb. They've never come into a place. Well, I shouldn't say they're always not constantly, hey, how's it going? Hey, how's it going?
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it's like being positive is one thing, but again, laughing when ain't nothing funny, that's coonish to me.
And I just I saw an interview with the actor Rob Schneider, and he just detests Will Smith. And the number one reason he said is because what we see is a facade. It's a facade. That's not the real Will Smith. And the more we find out about him, when you think about how he grew up and, the abuse that he saw his mother, go through, then yeah, you've hidden that. You have suppressed that. And with the Chris Rock, all of that came out.
Especially when you find out now, again, years later, that at the time, and even currently now, him and Jada are not living together.
It's complicated.
So, is it? So you're, and here's the other thing. Prior to that whole incident, when she had, she says, yeah, well, I'm going to say she says. I'm going to say it. She says she has the alopecia, which is why her hair, shaved all her hair off.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a week prior to that, she had done an interview and said how she felt powerful and she was taking, and shaving her hair was a good thing and yada, yada, yada. So now, a week later, somebody says a joke, and I believe Chris Rock, not knowing that she had alopecia, just a joke. And people say, well, it wasn't funny. Okay, but it was still a joke.
Yeah.
Here she is looking at him like he's an attack dog, go get him.
Yeah, ain't you gonna do something?
Yeah, ain't you gonna do something? And it was just very weird. The whole energy was very weird.
I think it was more so telling because,
Yeah.
we had always heard rumblings, and things about both of them. And I think it came to a head with that because we saw, okay, she does wear the pants, in whatever open relationship they may have hey, that's another show. But I think, when we talk about, the celebrities and the Coons and the Toms and, historically, Step and Fetch It, black actor, early 20th century. Bucking his eyes, shuffling along. Yes, sir. No, that will forever be a symbolism of cooning, the buffoonery behind it. And we have some entertainers now, in my opinion, who I'm going to call him out, Kevin Hart. If I see him scream or holler or buck his eyes in one more damn movie, it to me, and he's amassed, oh my God, I think he's worth 200-300 million now. So maybe for him, it's worth it. But for me, I don't necessarily care how other people feel about me. But what you will do is respect me. And I'm not going to do anything that is going to project, that air that, hey, Eugene's a coon. Hey, Eugene's an Uncle Tom. Because again, I find that to be one of the most insulting things that you can say, especially to a black man.
Yeah, and I think too that, as we progress in time, things get forgotten. Like you were talking about mentioning that coon character. You don't see those characters a lot, but if you do a quick Google search, what do you see? A very dark-skinned black person, large lips, ginormous eyes with a watermelon sitting out in front of him. That's the coon, right? All these characters, the Aunt Jemima characters, the Uncle Tom characters, all of these images, if you can just find these coon cartoons, there were cartoons about this, actual little shows with little black babies resembling monkeys. And I think just because it's been repressed and they're not showing that in the history books, we forget about that. We forget about that big bug-eyed reference to a black man, and what he stands for is he's eating some fried chicken or some watermelon. That's your coon. And I think, unfortunately, history stuff gets washed by the wayside.
Whitewashed.
We
let's
lose that.
let's put it out there, whitewashed, because I think white supremacists feel like, well, we don't talk about it, it'll disappear. And I think we need to get back to I don't want to say popularizing, but I think we need to get back to really teaching, our kids coming up, what our Black history was about. Because again, Brandon, to your point, when you look up the definition of coon or you see a picture and you read what it's about, for those that don't know, I bet you $100 they could sit back and say, that's somebody I know. I guarantee you. I guarantee you. And I think that if we, can say, okay, look, it's a way that we calling folks out, but at the same time, I said before, I think it's a teachable moment. Somebody call you a coon, then you got to look at yourself. Why are they calling me a coon? And maybe that will inspire some changes. I got to stop with this coonish behavior.
Well, yes. And I think, two things. One, I want to go back to your Kevin Hart point. I think that people like Cat Williams has called him out on certain things.
They've been going back and forth for a while.
Things, I wouldn't say that people are necessarily a straight up coon or a Tom, but they do have coonish behavior. And I think that coonish behavior can be called out. One of the things that was a big thing still, I guess, in the Black comedic community is, once you get to a certain level, they want to put you in a dress. And, make that, make it funny. And we can go back through the litany of Black comedians who have, worn the dress. And it's almost like that's a rite of passage.
Exactly, yeah.
So that's coonish behavior because okay, boss, if you want me to put a dress on, I'll put a dress on. Okay, that's that part. The other part is, I think that a lot of things, Brandon, that you pointed out about, Aunt Jemima characters and, in 2020 when, they took Uncle Ben off the box and said it's Ben's rice. They changed the whole look of Aunt Jemima.
She ain't even on the box.
Yeah, changed that,
they took her off.
Mills, flour company, whatever they changed it to.
Yeah, it's slowly Whitewashing away.
I think that was coonish behavior on those black people who had influence over those companies.
Mhm.
That's coonish because we were in the midst of George Floyd, Black Lives Matter protests all over the country, and you're giving us stuff that we didn't ask for. We're
Yes.
saying stop police brutality, stop killing us, and you saying, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna take these characters off the boxes. That'll help. And for black people that stood up and applauded that, like, yeah, we making progress. That did nothing.
And you know
Yeah,
why it did
yeah.
nothing? Because again, number one, we didn't ask for it.
We did not.
Number
ask for
two,
that.
who was offended by that? I know I wasn't. I mean, you know, you walk because now you walk in. Where the hell your mama pancake? You don't even see
Can't
it.
find it anymore.
Yeah, you can't find it because
And
they've rebranded.
And I think soon as they took Uncle Ben off the box, they raised the price. So that's hurting me. I'd rather
Say it didn't help.
put Uncle Ben back on
So
the rice.
It didn't help.
And you
And lower
put
the
20 cents.
price.
There you go.
So those are things that we don't. Those aren't tangible, actionable items that are affecting the majority of black people. And I think that's what we're talking about. Coons and Sambos do not reflect the majority of black people. So if you say, and you can be apolitical, you can say, well, you know what? I don't really get into racism. I take people as they are, and you know, okay. You can do that, and you have every right to do that. And I may not necessarily, talk about you. I probably will because I think that's wrong.
Case by case
That's
basis.
a wrong position to have too.
Yeah.
But if you want to be, flowers and roses and sunshine all the time and just, take people as they are, which you should, but ignore the larger, concept of what racism is and what it's been in this country, and that's where you want to be. Fine, okay, wear rose-colored glasses and live in your own world. Soon as you come outside, though, and you start making generalizations based on your experience, well, I've never seen any racism. So that doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's nothing like that ever. God bless. I've never had cancer.
But it's real.
So what do I say? Do I say, well, cancer's not real?
Cancer ain't that bad.
I'm looking at somebody who's going through chemo. They hooked up to a machine right now going through chemotherapy. You know that's not real. I think soon as they get off that machine and get their strength back, they're going to whoop you.
Yeah.
So
Good case in point.
They're going to tell you, just let me take a nap.
So do you think then for the those in the black community that do have a semblance of power, that they just don't care what the overall black community thinks about it, or they've actually asked people and said, well, that's just a small segment?
They haven't asked anybody.
Okay.
They haven't. They don't care. They're about themselves. And again, I get, and I've tried to give people, I even try to give myself grace about your own personal experience, and say, well, this is the way people are. I can't do that. What I can do, though, is look at facts, look at statistics, look at other people's experiences in other countries. I know we talk about, how the immigration issues at the border don't really affect us here in Michigan. But I can look at, well, let me see why these people are so upset.
Yeah.
Let me look at that situation. I can't just discount it. Same thing goes for racism.
Exactly.
Same thing goes for the situation of black people in this country. And if you are black and you identify as black, which, people like Amber Rose doesn't, and they, again, propped her up as a black person at the Republican National Convention who says she don't identify as black.
Came up through the black culture. This is how she has gotten famous and made her money.
But that's what you just said. Got famous and made money.
Jim Crow has entered the chat.
This is another way to get famous and make money.
Yeah.
Is to align yourself with certain groups. So you've taken yourself out of what the masses of black people have gone through, and you're trying to align yourself for your own personal gain. Those are the people that are dangerous to me.
And that is again, that's what essentially that whole Jim Crow era wanted. And it still is. That is still going on, carrying on today.
Well, they say that Jim Crow has grown up and evolved into James Pro Esquire.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly upgraded, new and
yes,
improved.
and they've gotten, smarter with the way that they do things. I think what we have to do is take, to me, and we've talked about this before, common sense. If it don't feel right, it's not. We have to go with our gut. We have to make sure that we're looking at stuff and seeing it for what it really is. Unfortunately for me, I haven't had a conversation with a coon, because I don't know how good it's gonna go.
I've there's and I'm not going. This is somebody that's like could actually be watching this, so I'm not gonna say their name. But it's in the corporate world. Who I still question whether or not they have coonish behavior. But they too, and it's almost like when you say
Coon adjacent.
coon adjacent. Because I can go back to your
Parallels.
Jay-Z example. This is somebody who's black.
Mhm.
They present as black.
Mhm.
They'll say that they're black. They will talk to black people. They will, I'm like, kind of part of black culture. But in the work world and in their position, they do things that don't quite look right. So I'm somebody that's looking at them like, are you doing this? I mean, I don't know. And that's okay.
Mhm.
That's okay because, time will tell,
Yeah, true.
how that person plays out and what, whether or not you can, align yourself and really fully trust them. I can't fully trust them. I can be cool with them.
Yeah.
Until they flip, and they haven't flipped yet. So I don't know. Maybe that's one person that's like still trying to figure it out themselves. They're trying to
Mhm.
navigate their way. They're trying to wear the mask the best way they know how.
Mhm.
So you don't think you need to go with your gut on that, or
I don't
you
know.
still the jury is out?
The jury is out because my gut won't allow me to fully align with this person.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they've never done anything bad to me.
Mhm.
They've been, cool with me. But again, I don't want to just say that's, I'm gonna take my experience. Well, they cool with me, so they cool. I don't know that. And I
Yeah,
think that's
fair.
where we are right now in 2024.
Oh yeah.
Why
yeah.
people don't want to necessarily use these terms and why
Mhm.
they may say they're outdated because everybody is really for themselves. We've lost that sense of care and community.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
especially in the corporate world, it
Absolutely.
appears for us at least. It's like you see one and you're like, yeah, is he on my team? You don't know.
You don't know.
It's hard, and I think, I wish we didn't have that.
Mm-hmm.
But man, it's hard, because you don't know. Like
Well,
you're
I
trying
think
to
one of the
figure out
telltale
for the
signs
longest.
though is not speaking.
Oh yeah.
Because if you walk past me in the hallway and we don't,
the head
the
nod,
nod,
yeah, you got
or
to
what's
do
up,
that
man?
one.
You just walk past me like I'm not there. That's it.
Yeah,
To me, that's a
that'll
telltale
No,
sign.
that tells you.
I can't mess
yeah.
with you.
That'll tell. Agreed.
I've had situations where, and to me, this is coonish too. I've had situations where I've seen, I've had a black colleague. We were both on the same trajectory.
Mhm.
He was really working hard, though. He's really pushing. He did everything, with the say white power structure, but he was real aligned with them. But then he'd come back to me and say, yeah, man, I'm working and I'm trying to do this and I'm gonna bring you in and I'm gonna bring some other brothers and sisters up and we're gonna do this, that, and the other. Okay. Now there's a lot of talk. And then it was in a position where he actually could have hired me for a position. Actually, twice. I didn't get it either time.
Hmm.
And I'm going, okay. I'm not gonna hold that against you because it was other applicants. Maybe I wasn't the best qualified. No problem. So it was another time he and I just talking, and we were talking about another black supervisor who was having some troubles. And I said, yeah, let me kind of shine a little light. I know he's going through some personal struggles, and these are what the personal struggles are, and yada yada yada. And my man was like, yeah, I don't care nothing about that.
Oh.
So now I'm going,
Wow.
I don't know. It's like, what are you?
Mm-hmm.
What are you? Because you again, and I got to go back to the Jay-Z example. We dapping it up. We speaking. What up, man? You my mans, yada, yada, yada. What's going on? We going to the club, yada, yada, yada. But then when it really comes time for some impactful things to happen, I don't see you showing that same camaraderie with me or with anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So again, those people are dangerous because they're trying to fool you.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
I'd rather you again come out and say, I'm for me.
Mm-hmm.
You get your, got to get mine. You got to get yours.
Fair. Yeah. Yeah.
I'd rather you do that so I can at least know. And if I call you a coon, you need to embrace it.
There you go.
This is who I am. This is what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, I don't think the terms are as impactful in 2024. I think they're still relevant and I think they're still necessary. But they don't impact people the way they used to.
No. Mm-hmm.
So why do you think that they don't? Because I think they don't because of where we are from a historical standpoint and the fact that we don't talk about things like this more. Everybody is afraid. You want to be politically correct and this, that, and the third. And, the God that I serve will not allow me to not stand 10 toes down on whatever statement I make. Because if I make it at home, I can make it in the street. No big deal.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're afraid to say something in front of everybody that you would tell your spouse or your significant other at home, that's a problem for me because again, you may think of it as this is how I'm surviving, but quite honestly, I don't see how somebody can sleep at night knowing that you straddling. When you're with your boys, I'm down. But when you at work, yes, sir, I'll get it done. Oh yeah, I'll stay after work and work 3, 4, 5 hours overtime. No problem with that. Yeah, I'll miss my son's baseball game because you want me to stay here and work, and I'm trying to climb that corporate ladder.
I think superficially it's because of money. And people just, I just need to make money. I just need to make a living. And they have discounted whatever you have to say about how they get that done. Subconsciously, I think it's fear. Because as you said, you're going to say what you're going to say in the house, outside the house. Again, going back historically over the figures that we, I've had this conversation with people before. We don't have black leaders no more. We had a lot of black leaders in the 60s. And so I said, okay, go back to those black leaders that you're talking about from the 60s and look what happened in their lives. They either were marginalized and or killed, or they bought into the power structure and lived a nice, comfortable life, Jesse Jackson.
Yep.
So let's when you talk about that, well, we don't have black leaders. What happened to those black leaders? And I think that subconsciously you said, okay, well, I better just fall back.
Yeah.
Because I got to survive.
And that's evolved into what it is now. Back then it was more prudent. People were not scared to do that. Now people are getting more afraid to do that, putting it in the closet. Before you could see somebody, like we were talking about a movie, Gran Torino, where there was older man born in that generation from the 60s, spewing racist comments, calling all types of races. He didn't care if you were Korean, Filipino, or black. He was going to be racist. But that was his generation and where he came from. But that generation is going away. You got a new generation. Let's do it in the closet. Let's say, look at my African American over here. And that's what you're going to get.
I think too that, we, have to make a decision, in terms of the route that we're going to go. Not telling, we are telling people, don't be Coons, don't be Sambos, don't be Uncle Toms. But, hopefully we've been able, to educate some people in terms of what these terms mean in our community, how we can do better. None of us are perfect, but at the same time, you have to have, in my opinion, integrity in whatever you do. You have to show empathy. You have to be selfless, and sometimes that means putting other people ahead of yourself. For the black folks that do have that power, Carl, and that platform, I think it's incumbent upon them to do more than what they've been doing. And if you're going to be that way and be self-centered, be selfish, then hey, have at it. But there's enough room for everybody at the table.
Yeah.
And I think that, again, this has been a powerful discussion. I know I've learned some things, and fam, I hope you guys have learned some things too. But again, there's some choices that we have to make, and how you move forward is totally up to you. But we thank you for being here with us. Remember, stay prayerful, stay positive, stay patient, stay peaceful. See you guys next time.